In this video, we're learning how to write linear equations from 2 points. And if you look at the top of our screen, we have 3 steps to do this. First, we want to find the slope between the 2 points. Then for the second step, we want to plug the slope and either point into point-slope form. So I'm going to underline that, and then I will write that down after we talk about step 3. And then step 3 is we're going to isolate y because we want to write it in y equals mx plus b form. So let me just write point-slope form down right here. So point-slope form is y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And we'll just keep that up there so that we remember the formula. So let's jump into number 1. So we want to find the equation of the line that passes through the points 2, 1 and 4, 5. So step 1, we want to find the slope. So remember, slope is equal to the change in the y's over the change in the x's. So we could write it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And I'll just label up our points with x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'll say 2, 1 is our first point. So we have x1 and y1. And I'll say 4, 5 is our second point. So we have x2, y2. Now we're just going to plug in our values. So our y2 is 5. Minus our y1 of 1, our x2 is 4, minus our x1 of 2. We want to simplify this. 5 minus 1 is 4, 4 minus 2 is 2, and 4 over 2 simplifies to 2. So now we have our slope, which is also equal to our m. Let's remember that. So now we need to plug this into point-slope form. So I'll start by just rewriting point-slope form. So we have y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And now m is our slope, so we found our slope, so we're going to plug that in for m. And then y1 and x1 just represent the coordinates of any point on the line. So we can choose either of our 2 points. So I'll just choose our first point. So I'm going to replace y1 with the y coordinate of the first point, which is 1. So I have y minus 1. Equals m, which is our slope of 2, times x minus, x1 is going to be the x coordinate of our first point, so x minus 2. And just to reiterate that, x1 and y1 can be any point on the line, so I didn't have to choose the first point. I could have used 4, 5. If you're given more than 2 points, you can pick any point on the line. And now we want to simplify this and isolate y. So we have y minus 1 equals 2 times x minus 2. I'm going to distribute the 2 on the right side of the equation. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times minus 2 is minus 4. And then I want to get the y by itself, so I'm going to add 1 to both sides. On the left, I get y equals, and on the right, I have 2x. Minus 4 plus 1 is minus 3. So I get y equals 2x minus 3. Let's try another example. So if we look at number 2, we have the points 3, 4 and negative 6, 7. So again, we're going to start by finding our slope. So slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll go ahead and label our points with x1, y1, x2, and y2. We're going to plug in our values. So y2 is 7 minus y1, which is 4. Over x2, which is negative 6, minus x1, which is 3. We're going to simplify. 7 minus 4 is 3. Negative 6 minus 3 is negative 9. And 3 over negative 9 simplifies to negative 1/3. So that is our slope, or our m value. So now we need to take our slope and one of the points and plug it into point-slope form. So I always start by rewriting point-slope form so I don't mess it up. And now I'm going to plug in either point. I'm going to plug in the first point because it doesn't have negative, so I think it's going to be easier. I'm going to do y minus, y1 is going to be the y coordinate of the point I chose, which is 4, equals m, which is our slope of negative 1/3, times x minus x1 is the x coordinate of the point I chose, which is 3. And now we're just going to simplify that. So we have y minus 4 equals negative 1/3 times x minus 3. I'm going to start by distributing this negative 1/3. So on the left side I'll have y minus 4. On the right, negative 1/3 times x is negative 1/3 x. Negative 1/3 times negative 3 is going to give me a plus 1. Finally, add 4 to both sides of my equation. On the left, I'm left with y, which is what I want. On the right, I get negative 1/3 x, and plus 1 and plus 4 is plus 5. So I get y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5. Let's go through 2 more examples just to make sure that we understand this. So for these last 2 examples, I encourage you guys to pause the video and try them on your own, and then you can watch me work through them to make sure you've solved them correctly. So taking a look at example 3, we have the points negative 12, 2 and 8, 12. So we're going to start by finding the slope. So I'll label this as step 1. So slope is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'm going to label our points with x1, y1, x2, y2. And now I'm going to plug in those values. So x2 is 12 y2 is 12 minus y1 of 2. That goes on the top. On the bottom, x2 is 8 minus x1 of negative 12. On the top, 12 minus 2 is 10. On the bottom, 8 minus negative 12 is the same as 8 plus 12, so that's 20. And 10 over 20 simplifies to 1/2, so we get a slope of 1/2. And remember, this is our m value. Step 2, we're going to plug this into point slope form, so I'm going to rewrite point slope. Y minus y1 is equal to m times x minus x1. And we can choose either point. I'm going to choose the second point, 8, 12. So I know it says x2, y2 above that. That was just for the slope. So I'm actually going to erase this so it doesn't confuse you guys. And I'm going to choose the point 8, 12 this time. So I'm choosing our second point. And for this step, I'm going to use this as our x1 and our y1. So again, you can choose either point. So I'm going to do y minus the y coordinate of the second point, which is 12. Is equal to our slope of 1/2 times x minus the x coordinate of the point we chose, which is 8. And now for step 3, I just want to simplify this. So I have y minus 12 equals 1/2 times x minus 8. I'm going to start by distributing this 1/2. So on the right side, 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times negative 8 is negative 4. On the left, I still have y minus 12. And then I'm going to add 12 to both sides of my equation, and I'll write my answer over here. On the left, we're left with y, which is what we want. On the right, we have 1/2 x, and a negative 4 plus 12 is going to give us plus 8. So we get y is equal to 1/2 x plus 8. And finally, taking a look at our last example, we have the points negative 2, 8 and 3, negative 17. We're going to start by finding the slope, which is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I'll label our points x1, y1, x2, y2. We're going to plug in our values. So our y2 is negative 17 minus our y1 of 8 over our x2 of 3 minus our x1 of negative 2. We're going to simplify the top and the bottom. Negative 17 minus 8 is going to give us a negative 25. 3 minus negative 2 is the same as 3 plus 2, so we get 5. And negative 25 over 5 simplifies to negative 5. So we get a slope, or an m value, of negative 5. Now we need to use point slope form, so I'll rewrite that. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I'll use the first point because the numbers are smaller. So I'm going to plug in 8 for y1 because that's the y coordinate of the point I chose. Plug in our slope of negative 5. and then x minus x1, which is -2 because that's the x-coordinate of the point that I chose. And now I want to simplify this. I'm going to start by rewriting most of it. So y minus a equals -5 times x. And then instead of minus a -2, I'm going to change that into a +2. And now I want to distribute the -5 on the right. So -5 times x is -5x. -5 times 2 is -10. Finally, add 8 to both sides of my equation. On the left, I'm left with a y, and on the right, I get -5x. -10 plus 8 is -2. So I get y is equal to -5x minus 2. So hopefully this video helped you guys learn how to write linear equations from 2 points. You just have to remember that you want to start by finding the slope, then you want to plug the slope and either point into point-slope form, and then isolate y to get the equation in y equals mx plus b form.